course. This is a course that's available to all students, and they have a number of different ways of accessing it. Let's take a look. So here I am on the PantherLearn homepage. I'm logged in as Test Student 2, and the first thing that I notice are a couple of news items. So first there's something about turn it in, and students can click this little X to dismiss these news items if they'd like. The second news item is check out our PantherLearn resources. So this is a note about the Student PantherLearn Training page, as well as the Student Learning Continuity Plan. All of this has also been emailed to students. So students can just click right here to access the Student PantherLearn Training page, or they can scroll up to their tic-tac-toe menu, type in Student PantherLearn Training, and click Search. We recommend that students pin this course to the top of their list as well. To access the course, simply click, and here's the Student PantherLearn Training course. It uses the student's first name just as a bit of personalization. We also have here the notification about ebooks for free for students, as well as an attachment here for how students could access some of those ebooks. This is set to expire on May 25th, and so that's when this news item will also disappear for students. There's also just a little introduction to what's included here, contact for the help desk, as well as some ways of navigating the course. But generally, students are going to go here to content. Now, the overview points the eye down to what's going on here in the left. So we have here the Learning Continuity Plan, which is available to all students. It walks them through how to continue learning through disruption. And below are listed lots of resources for the students, and it helps to also track the student's completion. So if you, as a faculty member, ever want to know if your student has accessed the PantherLearn Training Center and how much time they've spent in it, we can also help you with that information. So here we have 10 tips for online success. I can open that up, and there are 10 steps here that a student could take to help improve their success online. You can click through to the next document, which includes online courses enhanced with smartphones. And here we talk about how a student might use their smartphone to first get the Outlook app, and then get access to all ODU emails on their phones, and then get the Brightspace Pulse app, log into the virtual classroom, get the Microsoft Office mobile apps, which they'll get free with their ODU Outlook account. And then there's several other apps that we recommend, from Microsoft Math Solver to Skype for Business to the Yuzu app for inclusive access ebooks to even Screencast-O-Matic, so they can record the screen of their phone if they need to do a presentation. The next document provided to students is how to download the Outlook app onto their phones. So that's a pretty easy thing to do. We also include instructions on how to use Skype for Business, how students can continue to access the library from a remote location, including accessing the database, the FAQ support for online courses, and how to chat with a reference librarian. Here's some information for students about registration and how to continue to meet with and discuss their academic plans with advising and student success. Here's some helpful information about how students can still use the ARC, including the Right Place and the Math Lab. When it comes to the Right Place, students will be able to submit their papers via email to the Right Place and then expect an email in return within about 48 hours. For the Math Lab, students can sign up for a tutoring session, actually, and meet with a tutor in the virtual classroom. And so these services are still continuing for students right now, too. To have instructions for how students can ensure their accommodations are met remotely, instructions for how students can continue to meet with their career counselors, look for internships and jobs so that they won't be set back by our remote learning. Back here to the table of contents. In addition to the learning continuity, we have how to navigate PantherLearn. And here there are instructions for how to navigate the mini bar, the nav bar, and home pages. And so each of these are PDFs provided below. We have another module on personalizing PantherLearn. And so here we know how to personalize notifications. Notifications are these little notifications up here with this orange dot. Tells me as a test student 2 that I have a notification that tells me my research paper has been updated and what my grade is on that research paper. So that's a really easy way for students to be able to see what's going on in their courses. And here's a place where they can learn how to customize and personalize those notifications to work for them. There's also a quick video here about how to personalize their profile, like adding a picture and facts about themselves, and then how to personalize their account settings, things like making the text more contrast or larger print or other kinds of accessibility issues that students can use these account settings to improve their experience. The next module is how to submit assignments. And so here we have how to submit an assignment to a Dropbox, a discussion, and a quiz. And each of these are going to be their own PDF files about how to submit these various documents. Here's some about how to communicate. So how to email either their professors or their peers in the class if they have questions. How to communicate with a pager. Let's take a look at this really quickly. This is like instant messaging inside PantherLearn. And so here again, students can go to this little envelope at the top. Faculty can do this too. This is a nice way to communicate with students if you'd like. And they can go to the pager and they can search for either friends or people in their class list, and they can send a direct message over pager to someone else in PantherLearn. This can be a nice communication tool for students as well as faculty. And then the third document in communication was communicating with video note. So we show students how to record a video note and add it in the context of, say, a discussion. The next module after communicate is view grades. So this is a very detailed PDF document showing how to view a grade summary through the gradebook in their PantherLearn shells, as well as how to view detailed feedback on assignments. And that will include Turnitin assignments. So this is a great resource for students. And lastly, we have a module called Other Technology. And in this module, it covers how to access and be a participant in a virtual classroom, how to complete video assignments, information about using publisher courseware such as McGraw-Hill Connect, information about participating in an inclusive access course, again, how to use that Outlook app, Skype for Business, other mobile phone apps, as well as instructions for how to download the Lockdown browser if you're using that on any of your quizzes. So this is a really great repository for students. It's nice for faculty to know that this exists and to direct your students here. The second topic for thinking about the student perspective is how students view feedback on Dropbox assignments. So here I am as test student 2 again, and now I'm in the course called All About That Feedback. And this was a course that we designed for one of our Tech to Connect sessions in a few years back, and I'm just reusing it here to show some of the details about student submissions. So now I'm going to be test student 2, and I'd like to submit something to a Dropbox. So I'm going to go here to Assignments and Dropbox. And I want to submit something here to a rubric feedback Dropbox, because I can see as a student that I haven't submitted anything to this Dropbox yet. So I'm falling behind. I want to go ahead and submit this. This is a rubric Dropbox, so before I submit it, my rubric shows up here at the top, so I can look at that rubric again and compare it to my paper before I submit. And to submit a file, I just click Add a File, select something from my computer, upload, choose a file, and click Add. I can also type a message, and when I'm ready, I can click Submit. Notice as I scroll down, this here, confirmation email sent successfully. This is something that's good for faculty to know. Whenever a student submits something to a Dropbox, the student gets a confirmation email. So if a student ever tells you, for instance, I submitted it, I know I did, but you don't get the paper, one thing that you can ask is for the student to send you or forward you their confirmation email. Sometimes that can help. It also gives the student peace of mind that they did successfully submit the document. Okay, as test student 2, I can see now that I've submitted a file to 3 of these 4 drop boxes. Now I want to view my feedback on those files. So this first Dropbox is called a standard feedback Dropbox. That's where when you evaluate it as a faculty member, you just have that one little comment box there in the Dropbox evaluate window, and maybe you leave some general comments there, or maybe even you upload a file. What does that look like for a student? To view their feedback, they can either click on the submission here, or they can click on the feedback. In this case, I'm going to click on the feedback. And now I can scroll down and see my submission. I can see the date that it was submitted. And I can see here the instructor just wrote student feedback. So then I can click Done. For the Turn It In feedback Dropbox, I can again click next to feedback. And here, to view my inline feedback, I click View Turn It In Grade Mark. And this will open the Feedback Studio tab. And here now I can view my paper and see where my instructor left some comments. So instead of that, it should have been than, for example. I could also see any comments left here or any rubrics that were associated, and I could scroll down. If there were additional comments, I'd be able to see them on my entire paper. Again, you can click here, or for originality score, you could also click this. And it opens again in the Turn It In Feedback Studio, and as a student, I can view it. I could click the red here to see my match overview. In this case, it's 0, which is great. You can see here, while I've made some submissions, these 2 have not yet been graded, so there's no feedback for me to look at on those drop boxes. Let me log in as a different test student so you can see what feedback on those other drop boxes looks like. Okay, so now I'm logged in as test student 5. So for test student 5, things look a little different. So for test student 5, I've got several submissions and files, and I've got a grade and feedback for all 4 drop boxes. But I can see that these last 2 drop boxes, my feedback hasn't been read yet. So I can click here to view rubric feedback. So here I can see my faculty member wrote to me additional feedback to the student, and I can see which sections of the rubric I need to improve upon and which sections were good in my paper. I can see my total score and my overall score here. I can also view my submission again if I'd like to. And then for innovative feedback, this is some video feedback or audio feedback if you'd like to provide it. I can again click to see the feedback. And here the faculty member has said, hey, check out this awesome TED Talk. And this is a link that I can click as a student and then watch a really awesome TED Talk. If I go back to PantherLearn, also I read this really interesting article about the topic. And as a student, I can click here to check it out and see if it's really interesting. The obligation of capitalism. That might be fun. Or I could say, reread the assignment details and submit again. And here, this downloads as a Word document of the assignment details for the course, and I need to look at those again. You could also have provided just a video here or some audio files, and that's how students would see those as well. So right now I'm in Assignments Dropbox, and as a student, this is what it looks like for me. And I can see that I've read all of my feedback, I have grades on everything, I've submitted everything, and so this is providing me a nice summary. I can also go to Tools and then click on Grades to see a summary of all of the assignments that I have submitted. So here I can see that my point value for the course is 344 out of 430. That calculates my grade currently as a B-. And then as I scroll down, I can see those drop boxes, the standard, Turnitin, rubric, and innovative right here in the gradebook. And it also includes the points, my letter grade. Now this is a setting in the gradebook that you have to say for it to allow both the points and the letter grade, as well as this color code. But I can also see feedback here. So as a student, I don't always have to go to assignments and Dropbox to see the feedback. I can also see those in the grades view. Even for Turnitin in that grades view, I could click here for that Turnitin Dropbox and access the Turnitin Feedback Studio without ever having to go back to that Dropbox. And here I can see comments from my professor. In addition to those drop boxes, here too, I can see any quizzes or discussion grades as well. And so students have two options for viewing their grades. They can either go to the assignment and view their submission or their attempt, or they can go to their grades and see both their grades and the feedback all in one place. The third topic I want to discuss is how students view feedback on discussions. And we'll start with just showing how students will create a new discussion as well as how they would reply to someone else's discussion, and then you can see what that would look like when you're grading it. Here I am as test student 5 again, and I'm in content under discussions, and I want to submit a week 1 discussion. So I can just click on the week 1 discussion, and when I want to submit the discussion, I can click start a new thread. I can enter a subject, and I can type in the body. I can scroll down and click post. And now that test student 5 discussion appears here. There are several other students who have already posted below. I can also reply to their post as a student. So if I click, for instance, on test student 1's post, I can read through test student 1's carefully curated discussion post. And then I can click here to reply to the thread. And so now I want to say, great job, test student 1. See, I've said this is test student 5's reply. And when I'm ready, I just click post. And now this shows as threaded. So here was test student 1's original post, and if I scroll down, then here's the reply by test student 5. Okay, so now test student 5's instructor has graded his week 1 discussion, and now test student 5 wants to view their feedback and their grade. The test student can just go back to discussions here, click on week 1 discussion, and at the top now will display any feedback from the faculty member, great post and reply, test student 5, as well as test student 5's grades. And then right underneath it will be all of those discussions. This feedback here will be private to test student 5. Now let's talk a little bit about quizzes. How do students submit quizzes, and what are the different ways that students view feedback on quizzes? So now I'm logged back in as test student 2 instead of test student 5. And if I go here to assignments and quizzes, I will see that I have 4 quizzes in my list. And I can also see that I haven't attempted any of these quizzes. So I really need to take all of these quizzes. So I want to show what its differences are for students between what are the default settings in quizzes versus other kinds of things that you can do to enhance the kind of feedback that students receive on quizzes. So this first default quiz, if I was a student, this is what it would look like if you didn't change any settings when you created a quiz. Let's see. I just click the quiz to take it. There are some instructions provided for me here. I can see that the current time, this is my name, test student 2. I have unlimited time. I have 1 attempt, and there's some brief instructions that are provided on all quizzes. So I click Start Quiz. The quiz has just one question. What is the principle of utility? And the answer is the morally best or better alternative is that which produces the greatest or greater net utility. This first question here. I know that's the right answer because I wrote the question, but I'm going to give the wrong answer just for sake of argument. So I'm going to put this here. Do whatever you can to always be useful. And then I'm going to go ahead and submit my quiz. I can check and notice that the question has been saved here, and there's a little check mark over here. If this quiz had lots more questions, you would see a lot more of these little rectangles with the check marks as a quick sort of gauge for students that they've answered those questions. I'll click Submit. Do I really want to submit the quiz? Yes. And once I finish it, I just get this box that says Done. I don't see what my grade was. I don't see whether I got any questions right or wrong, which questions I got wrong. I really don't see anything. This is all I see. Let's go back to the quiz list and take a look at that fourth quiz. In this case, we've got a bit of feedback and a submission view. So let's start the quiz and see what happens. Again, I'm going to answer a wrong question because that gives us an opportunity to see some of that feedback versus answering the question correctly. Submit quiz. Submit quiz. And so here I have a submission view set up so I can see the question that I got wrong, what my answer was, and what the right answer was supposed to be. Plus, down here, I have this little arrow that I can click to view feedback. So some context for the students about why this was the right answer and why the answer I put was incorrect. And so that can be helpful to use quizzes as a learning experience or a learning tool for your students. The more feedback and the more of that submission view you can provide, the more the students will actually learn from the quiz experience. If you want to know how to set up those 4 different kinds of drop boxes, a regular drop box or standard drop box, as well as a Turnitin drop box, or how to include rubrics, or if you're interested in those quiz settings, how to provide that submission view, how to give that feedback, a really great place for you to start is the Faculty Help Center. In that Help Center, you're going to find loads of documentation as well as videos walking you through the steps. So here I am in the Faculty Help Center. I've had to log out as a test student because they don't have access. Students don't have access to this space. Only faculty do. And so here again, we have a bit of a personalized banner here. On the very front, you can click on Content to begin. There's some instructions for where to start. There's also this FAQ that's going to quickly get you to key questions that we get quite often. One is how to open courses before the first day of the term, how to copy content from a previous course, how to email your entire class, and how to create a news item. There's also that email address there, pantherlearn@ohiodominican.edu, and that's a great place to start when you have any questions in PantherLearn. So if we go up here and look at content, this course is set up as a lessons view, so it's a little bit different from our traditional PantherLearn view. And we have a variety of topics here. The flexible online learning plan, this was that email that went out before you transitioned classes from face-to-face to online to deal with the COVID-19 disease outbreak. And so all of that documentation is provided here for you in the Help Center. So if you want instructions on things like how to post a syllabus, how to hold an online class in the virtual classroom, how to create instructor videos using things like Screencast-O-Matic and YouTube, how to assign and assess using a Dropbox, discussions, or quizzes, how to organize your content, thinking of a module versus, the ways you might lay out your courses, how to edit properties and dates, deleting and moving around modules, things like that. We also have documentation on how to communicate with students. There's also documentation for how you might encourage discussion, creating those discussion forums and topics, as well as using video assignments. And then last, there's a video here where you can tour one of our online courses. You can get a real sense of what that course would look like and how robust it really is. In addition to the flexible online plan, we also have documentation on the beginning of term, things you might want to know in order to start off on the right foot. And then we have lots of detail about drop boxes, including Turnitin drop boxes, quizzes, including those submission views and how to set up all of those different settings, the gradebook, how to integrate your assignments with the gradebook so everything communicates seamlessly across your course, discussions, those communication tools available to all faculty, who to contact if you ever have questions. And then these weekly online tips, all of these videos are also going to be stored here in the Help Center so that you can access them quickly. So again, this Help Center is very helpful. We recommend that when you search for the Help Center here and when you find it in your list, you go ahead and click this little pin to pin it to the top of your list. That's going to make it easy to access it from here on out. I hope that everyone has a great week and that it was helpful for you to see some of this information from the student's perspective. Let us know if you have any questions about setting it up in your own courses. Thanks.